Hi, and welcome back to Briggs Garage. Today we're going to be doing the third and final video on this old MTD here with a Briggs & Stratton 14.5 horse. Here's what's going to make or break this thing. We're going to see if we can't get this engine unstuck. Before I try it, I want to give you guys a quick walk around. I want to show you a couple things I found. So I found where our water is coming in. Unfortunately, it's not where I wanted to see it, but here's the thing right there. She was coming right in through the carburetor. So the throat of the carb's all rusted up and everything. I can clean that. It's not a big deal. But then in the intake, we got some stuff. I'm sure I haven't really reached in there that much, but I pulled the shroud off and everything. As you can see, we're covered in pine needles. I'll go ahead and hose that off after before we try it. But for right now, what we're gonna do, we're gonna go ahead. This is about a week later. This cylinder's been soaking in oil and everything, so we're gonna try and break this engine free. So I'm gonna throw you back on the thing here and see what happens. There we go. I do own a breaker bar. Unfortunately, it's out at the farm. I don't have much, I don't do a lot of rider work here, so I never even thought to bring it with me. Yeah, right. All right. So, instead of use a little cheetah bar on it. Uh-oh, he budged a little. Uh-oh, not much, so, hey. May have to work it back and forth a little bit. Alright, she's pretty tight in one spot here. Give me a little time. I'm going to work with this a little bit and try and rock it back and forth a few more times, and I'll get back to you in just a minute. Hey, I got some great news, guys. Check this out. I got compression and everything. She's rolling right over. Nice. It's getting a little dark now, so tomorrow we're going to continue on this. We're going to work on a carburetor and whatnot. And I got the battery charging right now, and we're going to go from there with it. Alright guys, I've been plugging away at this carburetor. This is actually a few weeks past the last video. I got tied up with some other stuff and whatnot. Anyway, this is what we got so far. We got it cleaned up a little bit. I got to get a little down here. The throttle plate itself would not come off. You got a couple screws there, and they are just pretty much welded in there. So, but what I was able, so I just got a little bit left on this thing here. I got to get it with sandpaper. But I was able to get the choke out, and very nice tool to have in this case is the Dremel. You got your little wire brush on it, so you just kind of take it in there and, buzz everything. So I got this carburetor looking good, and I was able to get, the majority of everything down here. The jet actually came out of the carburetor. I was kind of surprised. Here's your jet with the emulsion tube and all that. I ran that through the wire wheel, poked all the holes out, got it looking good. Oops. And here's the float bowl. Not the best looking bowl on earth, but a lot better than what we started with. I let that thing soak in drain oil a few days, and it took a little sandpaper to it and cleaned it right up. Now, one issue we got going on This is the float for that carburetor. Let it focus in. You're gonna see right there, yeah, if this thing will ever focus in. See that? You got a crack right there. That's where all that rust and whatnot is. And it actually goes right down a thing. So this float is no good. Now normally in this case, I'd be dead in the water because I don't even up at the farm, I don't have a lot of stuff for these carburetors. But for some unknown reason, in the bottom of my toolbox, I have all sorts of miscellaneous junk. And one of those items was a float for this style carburetor. Don't know when I put it there. I don't know why I put it there, but I'm glad I put it there. So we got that. So I'm basically, as like I said, one other issue on this carburetor, this is not supposed to move. There's a little barb that comes out of the carburetor, and it's got teeth on it, and this has teeth as well. You're gonna put it where it goes and just kind of tap it in place and it stays there. Now this one, I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it. Right there's a crack. So this thing is going to leak. I'm gonna try and wrap a little electrical tape around it for the time being, just to test this engine. You could buy this piece on Amazon for, I don't know, $2 or $3 or something like that. So we'll be, next parts order I do, I'll go ahead and order one off. But other than that, we're looking pretty good on this whole setup. Now it's time to go ahead. We're gonna go ahead and test the electrical system on this mower. So let me go ahead and so first thing, the battery's all charged up, but I have to hook up the negative. I usually leave them unhooked while they're in here. That way I don't have to worry about any weird fires or something stupid like that. Got enough problems going on without all that. And if you're wondering, the last few videos I've done them outside, this garage was chock-a-block full of medical supplies. My daughter bought a storage unit, and it had a bunch of stuff from COVID actually. And somebody abandoned the unit, and she bought it and was donating stuff, and she just needed somewhere to put it temporarily, so it wound up here. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go ahead and test this harness out, see if we got any activity in there. So you go ahead, I got an automotive test light here, which will work just fine for this application. So I'll go ahead and bring you in for a minute. So here is your solenoid. I figured I'll give you a little tutorial for anybody that doesn't know any much about these things. You got right here, that's coming off of your battery. All right, you're gonna notice there's one single wire that comes off of that end right there, which goes right here. This is actual fuse. This always has to be there. I've seen people go ahead and bypass them when it's blowing fuses, and you do that, and next thing you know, you're gonna have a fire or a melted harness. So you always wanna have that. This wire, what this is doing, this is gonna power your ignition switch. So we wanna test it on both sides. Make sure we got juice going through it. Yep, we got that. Now, bottom of the solenoid, you're gonna notice it's a round, and that's because there's actually a piston inside of the solenoid. Now, as I'd said, this is your side that goes from the battery. This side here is going to the starter. So, what goes on, you have this orange wire right here. Don't know if you can see it or not. Yeah, where is that? Right there. There's a little tab on the side of the solenoid. And what that is, that's your exciter. Now there are other names for that wire and whatnot. That's when I was taught this, that's what I was taught it as. So I call it the exciter wire. So basically what happens when you hit the key, you're gonna get 12 volts to this wire, and that's what's gonna engage that piston. It's gonna come up, and it's gonna bridge the gap between these two terminals right here, and therefore sending juice to your starter. So that's how that all works. Now what we have to do, we gotta test this wire now and see if we got any juice going to it. So, let me set it here for 1 second. There we go. Hopefully that's off, yeah. So, this thing does still have safety switches and everything. So I got the clutch pressed in. Hey, look at that. That's when you hit the key. I got voltage going, so we may have a working setup here. Give me 1 second, and I'm gonna go ahead and plug that wire back in. We'll see if this thing is gonna do anything. That would be really nice if this harness actually works, instead of me having to mess with it just to, I just want to hear this thing spin over and possibly run. All right, so let's go ahead and press that clutch back in, see if we got anything. Hey, all right. I spun that starter by hand. I knew it wasn't locked up, so that's always good. All right, well, finally something on this mower actually works. I got my spark plug here too. I don't know if this thing's firing or not. Yes, it is. All right. Awesome. All right, so we got a working ignition system. One thing I did notice, the ground for the coil has never been hooked up. So I may end up monkeying with that after, I don't know, or I can just ground it out. But for right now, I'm gonna go ahead and finish zapping that carburetor back together, put this thing back together, and we're gonna see out in the driveway. And I think today's the day we're gonna hear this thing run or attempt to run or whatever. So we'll be back shortly. All right, so this thing's about as together as much as it's gonna be for now. We're gonna go ahead and test this thing out. As I figured, this thing for the carburetor that fit and leaks like a sieve. Possibly a needle valve too, I'm not sure, but I put a fuel shut off on it and got the float bowl full, shroud back on and whatnot. So let's go ahead and test this thing out real quick and see if it's gonna do anything at all. And just mind you that, don't forget I filled that cylinder with oil, so if this thing does in fact start, it's going to smoke like a freight train. I'm just hoping to not hear any rod knocks and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and see what this thing will do. Go ahead and choke it. There we go. Well, that's certainly what I wanted to hear. I am very pleasantly surprised with that. I figured that thing was gonna smoke like crazy, but it only had a little bit of fuel in the float bowl. No rod knocks. I could tell the compression release is out by a little bit and everything, but not bad at all. We're gonna go ahead and end this video with that. It's gonna be a long-winded one, but just please know, the next time you see this thing, we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna pop this motor off of here. We're gonna put it on a bench. We're gonna do a little work, and at that time, then I'm gonna tell you what it's going on and things like that. So stay tuned, and in the meantime, we got some other push mowers, blah blah blah, coming up. So we'll keep you going. So thank you very much for watching this video, and have a great night.